Hi everybody. I've got a witchy even book for review. Haven't done a witchy book for a while. I've been focusing on tarot. So it's high time I got a book review out there. Excuse me, it's its book, Witcha, a book of Cunning by Nathaniel Harris. It's published by Mandrake. It has 308 pages, which includes index and bibliography. Now, before we go into the review properly, I have to put a little disclaimer out there. There is controversy surrounding the author and some of his peer groups, okay? It's a huge row. Now, I wasn't going to mention this because it's not relevant to this subject matter. However, the author himself on Amazon reviews states he has fought long and hard to have this book removed. I completely understand why. I have a lot of respect for the author, and should he come across this video and wish me to remove it, I will be more than happy to do so. However, this book I have enjoyed for its content. Hence why I'm doing the review, you know. It's well written, the content is informative, you know, it's got a place along my other witchy books on the shelves. Okay, so here's the book, Witcha, a book of cunning, even. Okay, so let's have a quick look. Excuse me. If you can hear the music playing in the background, there is some songs listed in the book, and it's sort of folkloric songs, and this, if you can hear it, is one or two of the songs as recommended in the book. Okay, so let's start, as I always start, with the contents. As you can see, there is quite a bit. So, okay, chapter 1 discusses witchcraft. Chapter 2, dirty work at the crossroads. Chapter 3, thrice bound. 4 is tools of cunning. 5 is the pentagram. 6 is the docile circle. Probably didn't say that right. 7 is the Widdershins circle. 8 is the Sabbats. Then we've got the Witcher runes. A New English rune poem. The Sacrament, the Sacrifice. The Baker's Dozen. The Power of Naming. Self-Dedication. Fairy Blood. Wild and Secret Places. That was my favourite chapter. Voices of the Ancestral Dead. Necromancy. The Persecution. Where Sleeping Gods Lie. Magical Praxis. Arranging Coincidence. That's another good chapter. A Bag of Charms. Spells of Love and Sex. Spells of Persuasion and Control. Spells of healing, protection, material gain. Spells for general success. Then we have chapter 30, Maleficia. 31, The Evil Eye. Divination, automatic writing and drawing. The Art of Dreaming. Elemental spirits and bud wills. Spirit forms from nothing. Goethe, familiars, the art of invocation, Atavistic Sorcery, The Call of the Horned One, Primordial Woman, and songs from the old religion. Sorry, it's just gone into adverts on the music. We also have a index of the pictures that we've got in here. The pictures are really, really great, actually. I've got a few to show you. I've made some notes, if that's why I keep looking down. Right, pages that I wanted to show you. That one, I like that one. I really like the skulls beneath the world tree. Some of the images are actual photographs, such as this one. And you can see it was taken from the Museum of Witchcraft in Boscastle, UK. He's a cool little cute little character, isn't he? Okay. So sorry, I'm keeping looking down at my my notes here. Oh, chapter 3 I really liked. Chapter 3 is Thrice Bound. That's my glasses. Okay, Thrice Bound, and this will give you a good indication of the writing style as well, because I really liked Nathaniel's, the way he writes as well. It's simple, straight to the point is what you want. The image of 3 witches, Macbeth, the fairy godmothers in Sleeping Beauty, the Morai, the Morrigan, the 3 Marys at the foot of the crucifixion, the triple goddess of the waxing, full and waning moon, the Fates, the Gorgons, Diana, Artemis and Hecate, the 3 faces of Nauticula, Hecate, the Neuons, the 3 sisters Weird. Okay, so it's making a point about 3s. Further on we go into the sort of threefold law, you know. Like, this book is supposed to be written from sorry, let's put these up here. This book is supposed to be written from sort of like a aspect of traditional witchcraft. However, I personally see this as more of a sort of eclectic tradition that has a bit of traditional craft, a bit of Wiccan, and maybe even a little bit of ceremonial magic involved. Actually, it's close to how I view my own beliefs and my own practices, and that's probably why I like the book so much. Anyway, back to chapter 3. Okay, so chapter 3, Thrice Bound. They are the laws of time, the past, the present and the future. They are the mysteries of destiny, whose power it is to shape and to influence. In the various myths, they are seen as spinning time on their spinning wheels, weaving the fabric of reality, working their spellcraft over a roaring cauldron at the crossroads, or found at the Well of Ward. Is it Ward? Weird? I'm going to call it Weird from now on. Weird. It's an old English word, isn't it? A spring that lies at the base of the world tree. That Drazel. I probably didn't say that right either. Each day they take water from that well, that the roots after Axis Monday do not fail to rot. The image of the three sisters reoccurs throughout the world even after the conversion to Christianity, even when the knowledge of the old ways has fallen into decline. Even in the modern day, they remain strong. They remain a strong image into our customs. We still have the folk saying that these things tend to happen in threes, reflecting this connection between the number 3 and what we call fate. The knowledge of weird is the knowledge of destiny and presents a worldview quite at odds and out of law with Christian beliefs. The concept of weird and of the threefold law is central to the philosophy of the witch, as it is to its modern cousin Wicca. It is also one that seems to be misunderstood. It is often quoted as the main reason witches do not do black magic, since all things return to the sender threefold. Wrongdoers, according to this philosophy, are punished by the cosmos itself, and we in turn need do nothing. Whilst keeping the press and the public happy, this interpretation has very little to do with the genuine old ways or how weird was perceived by our Anglo-Saxon forebearers. I believe it to be the modern reinterpretation of a genuine piece of witch lore, an attempt to sanitize and desanitize the old ways to make them seem harmless. So that gives you an example of the writing style that goes briefly into what the chapter 3 of Thrice Bound will sort of be discussing. You know, the book does have a tendency to start discussing one thing and quickly move it into something else. It's quite fast paced, this book. That's not a criticism, it works well for me. So that was chapter 3, Thrice Bound. Okay. Chapter, where's it to? I think it was chapter 4 discusses tools of cunning. Again, we see some traditional tools that might be used in Wicca. But then again, the traditional tools used in Wicca are the tools used in other traditions, you know. You got the swords for the element of air, you know, the pentacles for the element of earth, you know, chalices for cups. They represent the elements. The use of elements in witchcraft, in ceremonial magic is common. So that's why you often find similar tools of a trade, if you like. This also makes use of the scourge. Yeah, I believe, is that just Alexandrian, or even Gardarian? I think it's Gardarian who used to use the scourge, isn't it? It isn't used often anymore. All the shame, you know. I think it's got a great place in sort of for energy and things like that. It discusses here the witch's rosary. You've got an image of a ritual belt. I'm sorry, I got a really itchy nose for some reason. My nose is really itchy. Okay, we've got another image here taken from the Museum of Witchcraft. Chapter 11. Where's it to? The Sacrament discusses basically solanacase, such as sort of like deadly nightshades, devil's apple, fly agaric, henbane, to use should you wish. So it doesn't say quantities to use to make witch's ointment, although it discusses a little bit about the history of, like, you know, the thought process around witches back in the days of the persecution, being accused of flying to the Sabbath, you know. There's a passage here which discusses something from Sir Walter Reginald Scott, which reads, "A recipe for flying ointment is recorded by Sir Walter Reginald Scott, 1584. An ointment by which they, the witches, ride in the air, being compounded by obtaining the fat of young children and sieve it with water in a brassen vessel, reserving the thickest of that which remaineth boiled in the bottom, which they lay up and keep until occasion serveth to use it. They put hereinto elesocillium aconitum frondes popules and suit." So that was chapter 11, which discusses the sacrament. There is talk, as I mentioned earlier on, about runes. And here we see this bit, which discusses how. And I like this as a little piece of text. How the darkness is a place of healing and a place of punishment. We lick our wounds and shed our tears. Walk away to some place where you can hide your disgrace. The pain you feel now is the key to the lock that will set free your heart. How beautiful is that? I love it. Okay. So there's that. At the back, it mentions some grimoires, the Key of Solomon, the Lesser Key of Solomon. What have we got there? It just gives, really, God, this bloody nose. What it gives is just a small sort of passage, just basically telling you a little bit about what books what. That in the Pictrix there, the Lesser Key, the Book of Enoch, Clavicular Solomonus, which is of course the Key of Solomon, the Book of Abramelin the Mage, the 4th Book of Agrippa. It also makes use of the Bible. Now, a lot of people, let me have a sip of my coffee. A lot of people don't seem to understand that back in the old days, you know, despite your beliefs, you had to be appearing to conform to the norm. Hence why a lot of spells, not a lot, but the use of psalms, etc., is seen in spells. I think a banishing psalm is Psalm 23. This seems to be overlooked in Western culture, although it's used in sort of hoodoo and voodoo and that sort of thing. So that's just an interesting little topic on that. There's also a little bit about the, go back to the glasses, about the Necronomicon, which was it was actually a fictional book produced by H.P. Lovecraft in the 20s, But his father was a Freemason, you know, and that book, Necronomicon, is often cited as a grimoire. But that's you know, there wasn't a lot to that, you know. It goes from the bottom of the page here, just that little section there. It's quite interesting. You'll know well about that if you like the works of Lovecraft. Okay, so you've mentioned grimoires. Okay, chapter 23. Arranging coincidence. Discusses the models of magic, conscious energy model and spiritual energy. However, you won't find the term 3 modes of magic mentioned. Again, it's quite an interesting section which covers 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 pages. You know, it's talking about belief, you know, mentions Austin Osman Spare, imagination, intent, desire. You don't often see these models discussed in books, especially books of this kind, so I really appreciated that bit. Okay, chapter 18, I'm going to read you quite a bit, because I really enjoyed it. So, and this is the sort of thing that I used to do in my younger days, and yeah, I hope to do so again this summer. Right, Voices of the Ancestral Dead. Okay, I'll read this chapter to you. West Kennet Longborough, near the stone circle of Avebury, is a mystical place in extremis. Its original use is unknown, although theory suggests that it was a place of symbolic rebirth. The wandering pre-Celtic tribes would return there with the corpses of their dead, which we placed in the womb of the mound and left to rot. All that would be left of them would be their bones, unidentifiable from those of all others that had been taken there. The tribe would then return at a later date, and some of these bones would be taken for use in ritual. They would have been carved, decorated. They would have made magical tools, as this would act to a link to their ancestors. In the summer of 1999, the author travelled there in the company of 2 other sorcerers, a male and a female, who were working together. It says, "We brought with us drums, Tibetan singing bowls, and a powerful sacrament. Once there, we performed a free-form ritual to summon the spirits that reside there." It discusses the mystery of the sort of the evening or the event. It began about 2 miles or so from the site itself, when the lights of the car mysteriously failed. The driver continued slowly through the pitch black. All of us, it says, all of them were worried that some horrendous accident would result. You know, the tension's building, you know, all that fun stuff. It goes on to say, "Speaking personally, I felt this event had something to do with our intentions. It was a little like being blindfolded as some sort of initiation." Okay, the 3 of us decided to begin our work at the far end of the barrow. I'll add some photos in within this video so you can see the Longborough itself. which is in Avebury, here in UK. Okay, the three of us decided to begin our work at the far end of the barrow, where some kind of celebration had obviously taken place only half an hour or so before. We sat in a triangle, the drums, the singing bowls before us, and dedicated our sacrament to the spirit of the place. This sinister potion we then drank between us. And so we began, the humming of our bowls and the freeform chanting filling the barrow, creating an intense atmosphere of magic. Almost immediately, I began to feel the spirits awakening. I began to feel the spirits awakening, a ghostly 1,000 years old. That bit didn't make sense. The spirits of the ancestors. We continued with our instruments and voices for some time, employed the chant, "You know the living, we know the dead," concentrating on our breath together so that we exhaled and inhaled and exhaled as one. Eventually, this died down, and the couple I was with took themselves off to a side chamber to make love. I could hear their breathing, and since we had been working together in such way, I found that my own breathing naturally seemed to fall into rhythm with theirs. It also seemed to me that the spirits of the place were breathing with us, and that the energy being raised by my friends was somehow feeding the magic. I stayed put and continued the chant quietly to myself, allowing this to fall gradually into trance of talking in tongues. This trance took my spirit to a place of darkness, a darkness that was the place itself. Gradually, from the spirit realms, I began to hear the sound of 1,000 voices, all whispering to one another. I knew that they were discussing the magic that was taking place, and what they were to make of me in particular. This medium who sought communion with them. They were as countless spirits all around me, and the darkness enveloped me. This went on for several minutes, until suddenly all these voices spoke as one voice to me. What was 1,000 spirits chattering together? What was 1,000 spirits chattering together? All spoke as one spirit. They said, "You." Gripped by paralysing fear and awe, I said nothing. They broke into 1,000 whispers once more, and then returned as one voice. "You who have summoned us." Again they become many, and again they become one. Why? Let me put my glasses on. I can tell you that I did not know what to reply to them. The need to commune came from some part of myself I had not questioned, some organic desire I knew no reason for. I remained silent, as much out of fear as anything, and the voices became many once more. I could feel them sniffing around me, touching my body, entering into me and reading my thoughts. I wanted to get up and flee, but instead relaxed and led them to explore my soul as desired. After all, if you are going to perform magical rites such as this, what would be the point if you freaked out and run away once it worked? Returning as one voice, they simply said, "Yes, one of us." With that, they were gone, and I was back in the material world. I was left with a feeling of awe, a profound knowledge that I was somehow related to this place itself through my bloodline. The mound had contained the bones of my own ancestors, that although we were separated by many countless generations, I had just met the spirits of my own family. You know, suddenly mortality didn't seem like such a big deal. Later, when the sun had risen, I sat atop Silbury Hill and watched a crop circle form in a field nearby, wishing amongst it all that I had remembered to bring a camera. What a lovely experience that sounds like, you know, and to be fortunate to have such an experience sounds great too. Okay, the book makes a discussion on necromancy, elemental spirits and bards, you know, the witch's ladder, your spells. I don't really like reading out too many sort of spells and things like that from books. I feel there's too much focus on sort of spell books, and I don't appreciate that. Although in the context of this book, it is much appreciated, you know. So ultimately, this really is a great book, and please do check it out. As I said, Nathaniel, the author, if you are not happy with me or happy with having this book up for sort of review or discussion, please drop me a message and I will happily remove it for you. Okay, well, thanks for watching, guys, and I hope you enjoyed this latest video. I've got a new witchy book coming in the post today. If the delivery driver can make his way up the mountains covered in snow, and I look forward to reviewing that one for you shortly. Bye!